I saw this vision years ago, and it was of leaders. Again, I'm not talking about any particular place. It was just leaders in general. And they were standing on a stage, like a platform. And in front of them were all sorts of white buckets. And so, thank you, baby. You are amazing. And so it looked like offering. It looked like as a congregation, we were going to go and we were going to put offering in the different buckets in front of these different leaders. And all of a sudden, as people went to go reach and grab their money, I stopped for a second and I was like, that doesn't feel right. Like, yes, people in the church can be paid and get gifts and all that kind of stuff. It wasn't a message about that, but it was like, I don't give my offering to a person. I give my offering to the church. And so something felt a little weird in that as I was watching this vision unfold. And then all of a sudden, the father of the house got up and he said, if there is anyone in the church that has been hurt by any one of these people, I want you to write it down and I want you to go put it in the white bucket. And the room was stone silent. Like you could have heard a pin drop in this church, in this room. And I sat there for a second and I thought, you can't say anything. You can't do that. I'm not going to do that. But there was this battle inside me and I was like, but you have hurt. But I'm like, yeah, but you can't say that. And I was going back and forth and all of a sudden I realized I can't lie to myself. I have to be honest with myself. And he's asking and there was a hurt. And so I wrote it down on the card and I was the first one to get up and I went and I put it in a bucket and all of a sudden somebody else got up and did it. And then somebody else got up and for 45 minutes, there was this acknowledgement of, I love you, but I've been hurt. I love you, but I've been hurt. And the sweetest thing happened. All of a sudden, all these people came off the stage and they came down to the body, to the flock. And there was hugging and embracing and there was tears. The leaders didn't lose their authority. They didn't lose their position, but we were operating like a family rather than the separation between us and them, or they're on the stage and there's unaddressed hurt and that type of thing. And I thought that was such an amazing vision that God gave me. And I think it was months later, I was still kind of unpacking some of it. And I thought it was so interesting that those that have caused the pain didn't ask for forgiveness. That actually the father of the house, I think in the vision, the father of the house was actually representative of Jesus. Because Jesus is always inviting us to the cross. He's always inviting us to come and to forgive and to release that stuff. We don't need to wait for an invitation to do that. And the person that we feel like has wronged us, we don't need to wait for them to come to us. That's part of the gift of being a believer, that we can just go ahead and we can do that anytime. And so Jesus was inviting us to do that. But here's the other part of the vision that I feel like is so important. People come to the church. I know I've had my own journey with this, but people come to the church not fully knowing who they are. They come to the church as orphans. They come to the church wounded. They come to the church with expectation. They come to the church with different needs. Come on. There's some people that have been in, 5, 6, 7 generations of believers. There's other people in the church that have not even read a full chapter in the Bible yet. Like everybody's just in a different place. And it's like we come to the church and we expect our leaders to give us what we didn't get from mom and dad. We expect for them to see us and to acknowledge us and to champion us and to cheer us on. And I think all that's good, but we can come as an orphan and we can come with an expectation that is not right. And it wasn't so much in the vision about these people being on stage, like trying to promote themselves, but it was more about how the people were looking at them, like the eyes were on them, like, oh, if only you'd see me. And there was like a wrong exalting. Does that make sense? And I feel like in this vision, there was God was really going after like the expectations of people that we put on leaders. And when we have these expectations that they would be our Jesus, that they would be the ones to give us permission and they would be the ones to manage our whole destiny and our identity, we're gonna get hurt because no man can be for us what only Jesus can be. Yeah, come on, you guys, this is good. I feel like we're all guilty of this. We're all guilty of this. There's nothing wrong with wanting a mother and father to champion us like that. And part of it really is kingdom. But there can be a place where it becomes an expectation, where our eyes become on man and it becomes super unhealthy. Now watch this. Watch what happens. If you have a young child and they get really wounded, by their mom and dad. Let's just say a child gets really wounded by mom. Just by the nature of the child, that child is going to lock eyes with mom, and she's going to spend an adequate amount of her life focused on mom to try to have that. Okay, so let's just say she felt rejected. Okay, and there's a deep wound there. The rest of her days, her eyes are going to be fixated on mom. Do you reject me? Do you reject me? Are we good? Are we good? And she's going to look for evidence of I'm rejected or I'm not rejected. That's just the nature of a child and their dependency upon a parent. That's where dysfunction, that's where family wounds come from, okay? But when it happens in the church and we have expectations of leaders and that are expectations that we really should be having of Jesus or our dependency on Jesus. And what happens is we get hurt from that. But then our eyes lock onto the leader, and there becomes like an idol worship. And I don't mean idol worship in like, woo, idol, like rock star idol worship. It's idol worship in saying, I'm only as good as that leader sees me. I'm only as powered as that leader empowers me. I'm only as blank, blank, blank as that leader gives me. And some of that role is reserved for Jesus. And we're putting our eyes on man where it needs to be on Jesus. And when we do that, we're going to get hurt. There's going to be hurt with that. I want to invite you into a little bit more of a personal journey here and say that I've had a tremendous journey of inner healing from the hurts and the pains and the trauma that I've endured as a child. And I can say that I was in a pretty good place and I was feeling pretty good, operating pretty fruitfully. Until I encountered somebody who spoke words over me, and it was like whatever was taken from me. Come on, you guys. I feel like this right here is going to be massive for some of you. This right here is going to be huge. So what happened is in my childhood, you could say that I was knocked down. Okay. And so then I find Jesus, and Jesus is building me back up, and he's restoring and redeeming. And so I'm now in this newfound place of like, wow, God is amazing. And this person who I respected and who I loved and who I honored and I was looking up to spoke a word over me. And we can say that word today. We could say that word wasn't loving, it wasn't kind, it wasn't of the Father, and it wasn't very helpful. But that word came, and it's like it was the same word, it was the same message that I had received in childhood. And there's one thing about when you have to get up and use your muscles. It's another thing when you've been knocked down and you have to get up again, that it can be extremely painful. In fact, it can be very crippling. And this is something that actually took me a couple of years to actually get over. And the Lord told me one day, as he said, Lisa, he said, the same spirit that was in operation with your mom was the same spirit in operation behind why this person said that over you. And it took me about 6 months to discern, well, what was that spirit? See, when my mom died, you could say that I no longer engaged with that spirit, or I no longer engaged because she was gone. And then God brought me into this. Okay, so let me go back. So it took me about 6 weeks to discern it. It was the spirit of intimidation. That the spirit of intimidation just had to say boo, and I went, ooh, and I would cower. I would just absolutely shrink when there was any type of intimidation over me, and I didn't know how to respond other than get hurt. So let's look at it this way. You could say that I felt a hurt and that I had been processing that hurt. But let's zoom out for a second and let's look at a bigger picture. What if God knew that I was taken out by that spirit of intimidation growing up? And what if God did do a great healing process in me? So my soul, so I had forgiven. I was walking well. I wasn't crippled from that. But then when this person spoke it with that same spirit behind it, and I felt like it took me out a little bit again, what if God was saying in that situation? What if this just wasn't about me being hurt? But what if it was about God saying, baby girl, that spirit wounded you. That spirit that was not of my spirit wounded you. You overcame the hurts, and now I'm going to teach you how to have authority over it. And the way that I had to learn my authority over it was by encountering it. And in that, I got to overcome by walking in authority over it. How many of you are having hurts right now in the church? And you actually mentally can say, yeah, I had a part of this in childhood, or I've experienced this before with my mom and dad, or I experienced this with my siblings. And oh, shoot, why is it revisiting me in the church? What if it's no longer a soul hurt or in your soul, but it's actually God trying to equip you in the spirit realm with authority? It's as if God is saying, Lisa, I'm done with that spirit of intimidation affecting your life. I'm actually going to bring you up, and I'm going to give you tools to walk in that authority so that that spirit of intimidation does not hurt other people. I just think that's good. I just think that that's a bigger perspective of some of the hurts that we have in the church. I think that's a good father.